I was falling down so low, so low. Didn't know which way I should go. I was lonely, I was out of friends. Dead ends, dead ends. Couldn't bring myself to pretend, but in my darkest night, a breakthrough. Heard you call my name, and now I'm facing you. Something falls from the sky, suddenly I'm awake. I'm alive, I'm aware, there's a chance I gotta take. Something falls from the sky, as it cuts through the night. Power lifts me higher, gonna be dancing in the light. Scared to dream about the person I could be. Without the chains surrounding me, now you've shown me what lies behind the door, the door. See me crying out for more, 'cause in my darkest night, a breakthrough. Heard you call my name, and now I'm facing you. Something falls from the sky, suddenly I'm awake. I'm alive, I'm aware, there's a chance I gotta take. Something falls from the sky, as it cuts through the night. Power lifts me higher, gonna be dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. They don't believe, they say I'm out my mind. 'Cause I got something they're all out to find. I was down on everything, was wrong, so wrong. Turn to see your face, and now I am reborn. Something falls from the sky, suddenly I'm awake. I'm alive, I'm aware, there's a chance I gotta take. Something falls from the sky, as it cuts through the night. Power lifts me higher, gonna be dancing in the light. Something falls from the sky, suddenly I'm awake. I'm alive, I'm aware, there's a chance I gotta take. Something falls from the sky, as it cuts through the night. Power lifts me higher, gonna be dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. Dancing in the light.
Well, we're here once again. A very good afternoon to you. 1 o'clock, Friday lunchtime. It's smartphone video show time again. Colin Kelly here, alongside my colleague at Comsteria, Emma Baker. Hi, Emma. How's it going?
It's very good, Colin. Very happy to be here. Excited to be doing our second show.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for the support last week on the first edition. And if you want to catch up on any of our previous shows, you'll find them all at comsteria.co.uk/live. Hi to Nigel Jones. He's watching us this lunchtime. Nigel was chatting to us on the YouTube channel during the week with some podcast chat and some big news just as we come on air, Emma. I don't know if you know this. Congratulations in order. Kim Sears and Andy Murray have just announced the birth of their fourth child.
Oh, fourth?
Yes,
Really? Oh my
yes,
goodness.
yes,
I had no
yes.
idea where they were in that kind of journey. Oh, that's lovely. That's really nice.
Yeah, big congratulations to them. That's good news. So, over the next half hour or so, we're going to talk all things smartphone video. Emma is the expert in the room. She's here, so if you've got any questions, you can put them in to the live chat. And there's been a couple of questions, Emma, that I've picked up during the week. So, in fact, one that I'd like to start with, if you wouldn't mind, and I know you've got a tutorial for us a little bit later on, but I've heard people tying themselves in knots and asking the question, for when you're shooting video from a smartphone, is landscape dead? So for years and years, people were ridiculed, you should have turned your phone on the side and all that stuff. But now that there's all these different formats, like, Instagram, etc., is it okay now, as a rule, to shoot everything in portrait?
I would say the main rule that you should follow is consistency. Think about what your final video is going to be. And if you start in landscape, then shoot everything in landscape, and then you'll be able to put together a good video. But if you want to do portrait because you know it's going to be more for stories and Instagram and all of those platforms, then do it in portrait. But do it all in portrait. You get in a terrible muddle if you've got some landscape, some portrait, and you can you can pull all that footage together, but it doesn't look as good. So pick one and stick to it the whole time.
Yeah, because I think YouTube now has a portrait mode, so if it's been filmed like that, you click the button and it kind of changes the dimensions almost automatically, doesn't it?
It does, and if anyone's watching your YouTube video on their phone and you film the whole video in portrait, then it will appear full screen in portrait, which is brilliant for mobile users. I think the downside of that is for desktop users, it doesn't fill the whole screen there, and you've got the black bars down the side, and it's not great. So with YouTube, I think people are watching a lot on their phones, but if you're doing a long 20-minute video or something, and you want to see people walking around and two people talking to each other at the same time, then landscape's going to be your best option.
I guess it comes down to understanding the audience and spending a bit of time thinking about, well, what's our subject matter, what's our audience, and how are they most likely to engage with this content. And if they're watching on a phone, then we shoot it for the phone. But if it is that more desktop environment, then we maybe prioritise that. I guess Instagram seems to be the tricky one, though, doesn't it? That you can have it a variety of other formats, but then if you want it on Instagram, it needs to be a square somehow.
Yeah, so that's where, if Instagram's your main platform, then I would say really consider moving towards shooting everything in portrait, because if you shoot in portrait and then you want to put it up as a main post, you can just chop the bottom or the top off to give you a square video, but you can also use it as a full screen portrait mode on stories, so you've got that flexibility. So portrait is kind of maybe the way it would go if you know that those Instagram and TikTok, let's say, are your two big platforms. If you're more a kind of LinkedIn market and YouTube, and you also want something that's going to work on your website, then I would still say go with landscape and then adapt it for those other platforms later, because there are adaptations you can make so that landscape works on these platforms.
Yeah, great, good advice. And you're going to, in a wee while, you've got a tutorial video for us, so just give us a quick preview. What you're going to be talking about later on?
It's an app called VN, or Vlog Now, VN brackets Vlog Now. Really nice editing app, which I really only properly came across maybe near the start of lockdown or 6 months ago, and I've added it to my list of recommended apps. And I would say it's free, it's for iOS and Android, and that's what makes it a really great app. And I'm going to run you through just 3 things that I really like about it that make it a worthwhile one to explore.
Well, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch and Twitter. So wherever you're watching, if you've got any questions, if you're watching us live, you can put them in just now straight through the live chat, and Emma or myself will do our best, it will be mainly Emma, to answer them before 1:30. And if you're watching on catch-up, if you're watching us after the event, because all the material is going to stay up there as well on our YouTube channel and the website at comsteria.co.uk/live, then just put a question to us through the email anytime, and we'll get back to you on a future show. Now, Emma, we always like to have a bit of a chat about the week's big business news, and this is one I'm definitely going to be watching this on the iPlayer. I was reading some news coverage about this just in the last little while. It's a programme on BBC Scotland. It's called Gold Town. It's all about a new gold mine. Do you know where it is?
I know, because I watched it last week. You weren't paying attention. It was on. You were on your phone. Oh. So you've not caught me off guard with this. Is it Tyndrum or Tyndrum?
It is.
Whatever
it is.
people say.
I just wanted to make you say it because there's a big division over how it's. Well, if you watch the programme, how did they pronounce it in the show?
He said Tyndrum.
Tyndrum, yeah.
But I've always said Tyndrum.
When I did my programme at the BBC, and sometimes I had to do traffic reports because they just got me doing everything, I was pulled up by a Tyndrum resident for saying Tyndrum.
Yeah, I assume Tyndrum must be right, because it's a BBC documentary and they're talking to all the residents of Tyndrum, so I don't think they would have got that wrong. There
was another day where I got Gaelic and Gaelic muddled up as well, and that caused an even bigger row.
Is it Gaelic for Scottish and Gaelic for Irish?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I didn't know that.
Did you not?
Well, I forgot. Other news this week, just announced this morning, Emma, for the first time in 500 years, the Royal Mail are going to start doing what?
You've absolutely flummoxed me with that. I wouldn't have even thought the Royal Mail had been around for 500 years. That's incredible.
It is. They're going to start delivering some mail on a Sunday.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
So 500 years ago they did that and then they stopped?
No, I just mean they started 500 years ago, so the
God, yeah,
Royal Mail
that'd be a
is...
strange backtrack 500 years ago that they were delivering on the Sabbath, and then in 2020 they've not reverted.
No. The Royal Mail's been around that length of time and never have delivered on Sunday.
Fair enough.
But now they're going to do it as a trial. It will only be with major retailers to start with, but if it goes well, and they think it will go well, and you called this quite recently actually, with the e-commerce boom, the Royal Mail are doing really well just now.
Yeah, I can imagine. There was a time a few years ago I remember thinking, I suppose when it all got sold off and stuff,
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's fair enough. That's a declining industry. Why would we ever need to send letters? We do everything by email, etc., and text. And then, of course, there was already e-commerce at that point, but it was nowhere near at the level it is now.
Yeah, so it's really been a huge growth area for them, and they want to stay in on that and make the most of it. So major retailers first, and then they're saying that it might be expanded maybe sometime after that.
Well, I think they have to, because you'll get your Amazon delivery any day of the week, and the Royal Mail really need to keep up with that, I think.
Other business news, well, not strictly business news, but this is something I do, and I am not ashamed to admit that this helps me in our business. Talking to yourself is good for you. This is a new book by Amanda Peet, who knows about these things. It's her book's called Mind Your Mind, and she says talking to yourself is good for you. If you need to run ideas past yourself, this is how I do it, run ideas past yourself, you should say them out loud.
So... talking to yourself as in saying it out loud, because I do that, but I keep it internal, whereas you very much like to broadcast it as if you're just, commentating on your life, as if you're on the radio.
Quite happy.
It's like you've never dropped the habit, and sometimes I'll hear you up here if you're trying to set up some cables and figure out a new configuration for all the cameras and things, and you're having a full-blown dialogue with yourself. But I can see that it does help you process it. So
Mind Your Mind by Amanda Peet. There's other good advice in there as well. It looks good. On the subject of live streaming, because I suppose that follows naturally from smartphone videos, if you do want more advice and help with that, then we're going to be starting some live streaming training here at Comsteria as well. So check out the website, and we'll be putting our training up here soon. We'll run a webinar on it as well, walk you through all our kit, all our equipment, our live streaming setup. It's all coming up here in the next few weeks. Wherever you're watching, if you follow us, if you subscribe, then you'll make sure that you get all that as well. Right then, Emma, so 1:10. If you've got any other questions or comments, please stick them in. But let's get Emma's tutorial up for now, and we can go through that. Do you want to introduce it, Emma? Tell us what we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, like I say, it's this Vlog Now app, and it's free to download, so go and download it and have a look at it. It lets you do all sorts of fancy editing things. It's one that I would be happy recommending to clients to use for your business, and I'm just highlighting 3 features of it that I think make it really worthwhile.
Okay, Vlog Now, let's have a look.
I wanted to show you this app called VN, or Vlog Now editing app. It's a great one for editing really professional quality videos on your smartphone, and it's compatible with both iOS and Android devices, so it's really flexible. I'm just going to run you through 3 things that I love about it that makes it one of the apps that I would always recommend that you could use for your business. The first thing is, if I just open up this project here, you can see that it does the basic thing that I require of all editors. It lets you edit in layers. So what that means is, you can see it really clearly here. We've got one layer at the bottom, and that layer, it could just be visuals for your video, but what it lets you do is have the bottom layer here where you're delivering your main message. So that's me presenting to camera, talking all about smartphone videos and why it's a great thing to use for your business. But then I've got a second layer here. If I just drag along, you can see as I'm talking, instead of seeing my face the whole time, now I can add in this other layer. And this is just stock footage at the moment of somebody using a smartphone video to vlog and communicate their business message. And so because we've got multiple layers here, it lets you build a really strong messaging video for your business instead of just using images and music in the background. So we've got me talking, and while I still talk, we cut away and we see images that match the message that I'm delivering. And then of course you've got a third layer here where you can add text, and there's a whole load of different text templates that you can use, and a fourth layer at the top to add music if you want to. And there's a very small kind of stock music library within the app, but you could bring in your own music if you like. So that's the first thing I love about it. It lets you edit in layers, and for me that's an absolute must for any good video editor for your phone or for your desktop. The second thing that's really handy, just a nice little feature, is let's say I've edited this video and it's in landscape. So I want to upload that maybe to LinkedIn and to my website, maybe YouTube as well. Brilliant. But I've also got an Instagram channel, so I don't really have to have the time to go around changing that and faffing too much. VN gives you a real shortcut to that. So you finish your full edit in landscape, you can then export it just up at the top, get your MP4 file to upload, and then come back in and come up to this little drop down menu at the top where it says original, and change the aspect ratio. So we've got 16:9, which is what the original is. I want this for Instagram. Pop that in there, and look, it just reformats it all for you. If I just scrub through, you can see that the titles have been put in the right place, and it just basically blurs out. And there's other things you can do that are more, you could add a different coloured background and banners and so on. But in terms of a very quick default for repurposing your content and getting it up across all the various platforms, VN does that for you really, really quickly, which is great. And then the final little tool I want to show you, that there's loads of editing tools, everything you would expect from a good level editor, but quite incredible that this is all free. But I'm going to just show you one tool that I particularly like, because you don't find it so much on a free app. So this is, you might see this, it's called a speed ramp, or a speed curve, they call it in here. And let's say I've just put this little practice together of me filming a coffee jar in my kitchen, and the process of making a cup of coffee using some in-camera transitions, and there's my cheesy kind of finishing smile at the end of that. So this isn't anything formal that I would use, but I was just practicing. So what you've got here, I've filmed this, I think, in maybe 120 frames per second, so that I can slow it down or speed it up as I wish in the editor. So if I press play, we start slow and then it speeds up, then slow and speeds up. And it gives you that effect that you probably recognise from kind of quite glossy promotional videos, although that's just me in my kitchen. And the way that works, if we just zoom in on this first clip here, obviously my camera is moving as the way I've filmed it, but when we come to edit it, we tap here and we select this speed tool, and you can see this speed curve, which lets you add the speed ramp. You can just go to regular, and you could just slow the speed by half, so it's just in slow motion at the same consistent speed the whole way through. But this little curve tool, it uses what's called keyframes, so that you can change the time at key moments in time. So we start off here, this first keyframe, I think I've got it just less than half. There's 1 times speed, and here we've got it just less than half at the bottom. So we start off slow, and then phew, it speeds up with this speed ramp to 1.5 speed. And that gives you that effect of quickly speeding up at the end of the shot. And then what that means is on the next shot, I'm going to start off, I filmed it kind of coming out of the coffee there, so it's all black to start with. We come out of the coffee, and we start off fast, slow down, and then speed up again as we go for that transition. And what that looks like here on the speed curve is starting fast 1.5 times, slowing down, and then speeding up to take us into the next shot, and so on. So the speed curve, or the speed ramp tool, is really handy. And you've also got some presets as well, so you can manipulate these wherever you want. I want to start off really fast and then slow right down. You can manipulate it any way you want, and you can add extra keyframes at particular moments on time. But there's also some presets here from this drop-down menu, which gives you particular effects. So if you were just clipping together a nice montage of clips, you could try out that preset, see what it looks like, and then customize it yourself. So I'd say that's a really handy tool, something I really like about the VN app. And it's incredible that you get all of these features in a free app. So check it out. Go and download it for iOS or Android and have a good play around with it and see if you can make some great videos for your business.
Sounds really good, Emma. The VN Vlog Now app, that's for Android and iOS. It's free. I'm always a wee bit suspicious when these things are free. I mean, is it all cluttered up with ads? Do you have to register, or what's it like?
No, I'm trying to think. There must be a couple of ads when you're on the project library page, but when you're actually in and editing, there's nothing pops up in your way at all. It's really clutter-free, really, really nice app to use. And there's also a free desktop version, only for Mac. You can't get it for a PC. But that's quite nice if it's something just to get you started in editing for business, and you don't want to maybe spend much money. And quite a lot of apps are subscription based as well, and you can end up subscribed to so many things. So this is great for getting you started and seeing what's possible, and then maybe at a future date you can decide to spend a bit of money.
Yeah, I was going to say, although obviously it's the smartphone video show and that's often our focus, we know that some of our clients and some of our viewers will at times, as we do at times, edit on the desktop. So that's great that app, if you're a Mac user, you can get the VN Vlog Now app on your Mac as well. And do you know what I mean? It looked good. We spoke earlier about like changing the aspect ratio and things like that. And that's quite a straightforward way of doing it.
It's really easy. It's really nice. And that's what Imovie is one of the other free apps. It's the only other free app that I recommend. All the other ones you would pay for. And it's great, it's dead easy to use, but whenever you got to a certain level with it, it was always frustrating. The text options were pretty poor. And then now for this kind of modern era, the aspect ratio, you can only do landscape on iMovie. And that's a real limitation that I don't think you can work with anymore. So VN, for me, if you're using iMovie and you're getting frustrated with it, go and download VN, because as you saw in the video, you can flip from, if you've shot everything in landscape, it's such an easy way, it's just loaded with these presets, just reformats it to square and blurs out the top and the bottom. And as I said in the video, you can do fancier things. You can put a coloured bar at the top and the bottom, and you could add text, so you've got subtitles. But if you just want a quick get out of jail card, you've to have a landscape, then a square, then a portrait video, it pretty much does it for you. Yeah,
because I guess what we want to get to, if you are a busy small business owner, or you are running a busy comms team, I see this so often, and I know you will as well, Emma, that you don't always get the time that these creative projects demand, whether it's writing or podcasting or video. In an ideal world, we'd get all this time, and we often don't. So it has to fit in around other stuff. What we're trying to get for you here is where this can just become part of a workflow, where you can quickly, create that video for YouTube, quickly click a couple of buttons in the VN app, and now you've got it outputted for Instagram as well. So you're making that content go further.
Exactly. It does take a bit of time to plan your video message, to record it and be happy with how you look and how you sound, all these elements. So the more you can declutter the rest of that workflow, the better.
Yeah, we're happy to help with any of your smartphone video or desktop video questions, whatever you want to know about, whatever you're stuck with. We can help with Zoom, we can help with podcasting. It's all there, comsteria.co.uk if you want to find out more about what we do. And on our YouTube channel, we've got lots of hints and tips and tutorials. We've got Audacity editing software. We've got some stuff coming up this weekend about Zoom as well. I saw some posts during the week, Emma, from businesses where they'd sort of decided they were going to get the boss to say something, say a quick bit. And we've had clients that have done this where they script it. Mm-hmm. So somebody wants to say something, okay, we're going to script this video, and then I'm going to stand in front of the phone or in front of the camera, and I'm going to memorize the script, and I'm going to get the script across. And I did a podcast during the week saying, and I was maybe a little bit provocative, but the titles work. Don't let your boss use a script in a video. And so I'm wondering, do you agree? And if they've not to use a script, then how do they do it instead without talking garbage?
Yeah, well, I 100% agree. And a lot of the time people ask about that in training, and they ask about auto cues as well, and all of those things can make you just sound very robotic, very rehearsed, and it just doesn't come across on video. I don't think it comes across in many circumstances, but video, the power of video, I think, is that it's quite an intimate medium. So I would say the first thing I'd say is that practicing your not your script, but having a good structure and an idea of what you want to say and where you want to go. And then thinking of the camera like just as one individual. Picture that one person in your audience that you're speaking to, and it should feel much more like having a conversation with them. That can be quite hard, and some people can be so confident presenting to a whole room, and then it comes to looking down the camera lens and doing that, and they just come across terribly. So another option, if you're not good at coming across naturally, is to do the interview kind of set up. So if it's your boss, for example, feed the questions so that it comes across as much more of a conversation. And you're standing beside the camera, beside the tripod, asking the questions, and the boss is, like we are here, you're looking just past the lens of the camera. And so there's kind of 3 people in on the conversation, and you get much more authentic video output that way.
Yeah, I always would say to clients, sometimes writing out the script can help you in terms of what's going through your head, making sure that you have structured it properly, making sure that you know what the important things you want to say are. If that helps you to write out word for word, but then from there you've got to try and maybe reduce it down to bullet points and then practice it so that you know the things you want to say, and then you can let it come out, just quite naturally. And I think having that colleague there, where I think it causes real problems is it's not just that you're going to sound robotic, it's that the process then of trying to memorize the script, and you start stumbling over words. You then get frustrated and upset, or you break down into hysterics, depending on your mindset at the time. And the whole thing takes much longer than it should have. And it's probably, especially if you are, maybe the senior or a more senior person in the organisation, it becomes a very frustrating experience for you that you don't want to repeat. And I always think that's a great shame.
Yeah, and so another thing that I remind people, especially if you're the comms team and you're the person that has to get the boss to do this, or maybe, everybody's working remotely. I've had a lot of people saying that everyone's working remotely, they're experts, we want them to produce this video, but they find it so hard to get through it. And the one thing that I think comes as a revelation when you're training people is, if you tell the folks that have to present to camera, you don't have to get it perfect all the way through 2 minutes without making a mistake, because I'm going to edit this video, and I'm going to put in cutaway footage over the top of it so that when you've made a mistake, I'll take that bit out and nobody will see it. It will sound seamless and it will look seamless. And that really takes the pressure off, so that, then what I would say is just press record on the camera and just stand there. And it might take you 10 minutes to go through it step by step. But when you make a mistake, you don't have to go all the way back to the beginning. You just kind of maybe reverse by, 10 seconds. I'll go back to the beginning of that line and I'll now do that bit, and you build it up slowly. And I think using that technique, people get much more relaxed kind of people on camera rather than what you've just described.
Yeah, and I think another thing is that can help ease the frustration a little bit is when you do make a mistake, don't stop recording, just let it run. And you'll go in and tidy it up later. If you keep stopping and starting and moving out of position, it just puts other barriers in your way. Emma, quick question then. This is on the subject of sound. Do you need an external microphone if you're recording video on your smartphone?
Yeah, I would say go and get yourself an external microphone, just a little one that plugs into the headphone jack on your phone, or you used your adapter that came with your headphones and it clips on. I'm using a lavalier mic here. It's that kind of thing. You can buy them for phones, not too expensive. There's one, the Boya BY-M1 lav mic. It's on our Comsteria store, that costs, I think it's only about £15, and it's really good sound quality. And then the one I recommend most often is the iRig lav mic. It's the one that I use most frequently myself. But if you're standing at the right distance from the camera, maybe just an arm's length from the camera even, which is kind of roughly where you would need to be to frame the shot nicely, then the on-camera microphone isn't going to capture the best quality audio. You're going to get all the background noise from the room and that kind of echoey feel, and it sounds distant, and you want the audience to feel kind of connected to what you're saying. Comsteria.co.uk/store if you want to see an easy way of looking at all the equipment that we recommend, regardless of your budget. There's something there for every budget, and it's an Amazon affiliate page, so you just can click through and then you can see it on Amazon. So comsteria.co.uk/store. Don't forget Mother's Day on Sunday.
I was just remembering about this. I was thinking about mums in business, and I was thinking about my mum. And I don't know if you know this, Emma, but when we were kids, before she went back to teaching, for a little while, she was an Usborne Books rep.
Yes, you have told me that. I don't know many of the details, but I remember you telling me.
I don't either, but it was like it was like Avon for books, isn't it? Like you've got this kind of network around you, and you try and sell them books. And I think she was buying books anyway for my brother and I, so there was an easy way. And I think she had a wee network, a few wee customers around her. But she maybe lacked, I'm sure she would agree, lacked the killer sales instinct to really grow it. So she went back to teaching. But I was thinking, like, in business, you do need a network. It is about who you know and these relationships that you have. And people that are new parents, and in many cases that's going to be mums. There's a network. When you become a parent, there's a network built in for many people, which lends itself quite nicely to business ventures.
Yeah, I think that's why the whole, I'm not really very fond of the word, but the mumpreneur, am I saying that right? Kind of word where people do tend to, it gives you a chance definitely to step aside maybe from the career that you've been following and maybe rethink things, but there's definitely a ready-made network there. Probably even now during lockdown times, a network of new parents who are talking to each other and exchanging information because everybody's kind of a bit frazzled at that point in their life and they're looking for solutions and products and things that are going to help them. Yeah,
and I think as well there's a kind of a built-in feeling that we should support each other. If we're both going through, we get the kids going through the same things at the same time, young families, etc. There is that nice connection. And I think if you are involved in these kinds of ventures, whether it's Avon or Arbonne or these other kind of, I think they call them multi-level marketing sort of situations, I think video explaining the products, demonstrating the product is going to lift you above many of the other people in that same space trying to sell, you get the juices and the health supplements and collagen and all that stuff. If you're creating video around those products, it's going to lift you a little bit compared to the other people that are maybe chasing that same audience.
Yeah, and I think it gives you a chance to be seen as well by a lot of people. And there's so many of these kinds of products around, and what makes you different or your product different from anyone else? Yes, it's maybe the features of the product, but it's also the fact that it's you that's selling it. And the more you can get your thoughts, your personality, your passion for the product out there, the better, and video really helps you do that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that held my mum back, is I think she felt awkward going up to people and saying, hey, do you want to buy some books?
Yeah.
Whereas if she had been able to create some video saying what she liked about these books, then it would have been a nice conversation starter. She could just, she's doing that now, you could put these links on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter or whatever, and people could engage with her that way.
Yeah, I think they would have loved that, and particularly I can talk about the book products because that's something that I love. And if somebody like your mum popped up on your newsfeed and they were talking about this brilliant book.
It's my worst nightmare, my mum popping up on my newsfeed. I'd probably quit if that ever happened.
So somebody like your mum, but in this day and age, pops up talking about this book that their son Colin absolutely loves and goes wild for, and just not salesy. That these things I think work best when they're not salesy. They're just an extension of your existing networks, aren't they? The way that you talk to your friends, Colin loves that book, this one he didn't like so much. That kind of honesty in the way that you market the product and really, I suppose, market and communicate yourself.
Yeah, it's the authenticity, isn't it, that really goes a long way. Well, listen, that's just after 1:30. We're kind of out of time, so remember Mother's Day on Sunday. We'll be back here again at 1:00 next Friday for another smartphone video show. I had said we were going to end every program with a battle of Mario Kart on the Nintendo Switch. That's postponed for another week because our lad Michael, who's on the final day of homeschooling, is playing with the Nintendo just now.
I have to say that that's the first time in homeschooling he's been allowed to do that during the day. But
well, it's technically lunchtime, is it not?
It is technically lunchtime, yeah.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the website. Remember, you can sign up for Emma's smartphone video newsletter, comsteria.co.uk/newsletter. She's got her on-demand training, the smartphone video production course. It's the best part of 2 hours, that course that you've done, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Comsteria.co.uk/on-demand. Thanks for watching. We will be back again next week.